Good Thursday morning, everyone, and welcome into today's daily Bible reading for September the 21st. Today we are reading together in 2 Kings chapter 5, which is going to be the pretty well-known story of Naaman, or Naaman, whatever his name is, the guy from Syria, or from Aram, which Aram, Syria, similar locations, I believe. This man is a very important figure within the nation, within the army of Aram. In fact, Yahweh has worked through him. He has a serious problem that he ends up going to Israel to get fixed. And we're going to see lessons in humility and greed throughout this story and give us a couple of good lessons to think about as we go throughout our day today. Let me go and get the text up on the screen for us here in 2 Kings chapter 5. We'll begin reading here 2 Kings chapter 5 and verse number 1. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a man important to his master and highly regarded because through him Yahweh had given victory to Aram. The man was a valiant warrior, but he had a skin disease. Aram had gone on raids and brought back from the land of Israel a young girl who served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my master were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his skin disease." So Naaman went and told his master what the girl from the land of Israel had said. Therefore the king of Aram said, "Go, and I will send you a letter. I will send a letter with you to the king of Israel." So he went and took about 750 pounds of silver, 150 pounds of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, and it read, "When this letter comes to you, note that I have sent you my servant Naaman for you to cure him of his skin disease." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and asked, "Am I God, killing and giving life, that this man expects me to cure a man of his skin disease? Recognize that he is only picking a fight with me." When Elisha, the man of God, heard what the king of Israel had, that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king. "Why have you torn your clothes? Have him come to me, and he will know there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman went with his horses and chariots and stood at the door of Elisha's house. Then Elisha sent him a messenger who said, "Go wash 7 times in the Jordan, and your skin will be restored and you will be clean." But Naaman got angry and left, saying, "I was telling myself, he will surely come out, stand and call on the name of Yahweh his God, and wave his hand over the place and cure the skin disease. Aren't Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Couldn't I wash in them and be clean?" So he turned and left in a rage. You might say he left in a huff. But his servants approached him and said, "My father, if the prophet had told you to do something great, wouldn't you have done it? How much more should you do it when he only tells you, 'Wash and be clean'?" So Naaman went down and dipped himself in the Jordan 7 times according to the command of the man of God. Then his skin was restored and became like the skin of a small boy, and he was clean. Then Naaman and his whole company went back to the man of God, stood before him, and declared, "I know there's no God in the whole world except in Israel. Therefore, please accept a gift from your servant." But Elisha said, "As Yahweh lives, in whose presence I stand, I will not accept it." Naaman urged him to accept it, but he refused. Naaman responded, "If not, please let your servant be given as much soil as a pair of mules can carry, for your servant will no longer offer a burnt offering or a sacrifice to any other god but Yahweh. However, in a particular matter, may Yahweh pardon your servant. When my master, the king of Aram, goes into the temple of Rimmon to bow in worship while he is leaning on my arm, and I have to bow in worship in the temple of Rimmon, when I bow in the temple of Rimmon, may Yahweh pardon your servant in this matter." So Elisha, he said to him, "Go in peace." After Naaman had traveled a short distance from Elijah, Gehazi, the attendant of Elisha, the man of God, thought, "My master has let this Aramean Naaman off lightly by not accepting from him what he brought. As Yahweh lives, I will run after him and get something from him. So Gehazi pursued Naaman, and when Naaman saw someone running after him, he got down from the chariot to meet him and asked, "Is everything all right?" Gehazi said, "It's all right. My master has sent me to say, I have just now discovered that 2 young men from the sons of the prophets have come to me from the hill country of Ephraim. Please give them 75 pounds of silver and 2 sets of clothing." But Naaman insisted, "Please, no, except 150 pounds. He urged Gehazi and then packed 150 pounds of silver in 2 bags and 2 sets of clothing. Naaman gave them to 2 of his attendants who carried them ahead of Gehazi. When Gehazi came to the hill, he took the gifts from them and deposited them in the house. Then he dismissed the men and they left. Gehazi came and stood by his master. "Where did you go, Gehazi?" Elisha asked him. He replied, your servant didn't go anywhere." "My heart didn't go when the man got down from his chariot to meet you," Elisha said. "Is this a time to accept silver and clothing, olive orchards and vineyards, flocks and herds, and male and female slaves? Therefore, Naaman's skin disease will cling to you and your descendants forever." So Gehazi went out from his presence diseased, resembling snow. And that is 2 Kings chapter 5. Again, the opening of this chapter might be a little strange to us in the fact that it speaks so highly of this commander of a pagan army, especially the fact that it says that Yahweh had given victory to Aram through Naaman. Well, that's kind of strange. Why would he do such a thing? For us, it might seem weird, but we know that Yahweh is always about the business of accomplishing his will. And this is not the first or only time that Yahweh will use pagan nations and their armies to accomplish his will and to give them victory for various reasons. It's just something that happens. Maybe part of the reason he had given them victory is so that this woman, or this young girl who was taken as a slave into Naaman's house and given to his wife, maybe it was for the purpose of setting all this up, because she sees her master and this young girl who, you got to think, she's been through a pretty traumatic experience, having had her house raided, possibly having had her family killed, and now she's in this foreign land, and she's still compassionate toward her new master. And she says, "Oh man, if only my master could get set up with the prophet that's in Samaria, I bet he could heal my master and cure him of his skin disease." And we might be thinking, "Oh, that's sweet of her. It's not that big of a deal, though." But we got to think the skin disease, and many people think it might be leprosy of some sort. If it is leprosy, then it's not just dry skin or something like we might have like eczema or some sort of other dermatitis. It was a disease that would eventually lead to death, very, very gruesome death. In fact, just wasting away of one's skin and body. So this was a great kindness that this young girl showed toward her new master, and also a great act of faith and confidence in the power that Elisha possessed. So Naaman goes to the king of Aram. If it is the king of Aram, then possibly his name would be Ben-Hadad, which is kind of like Pharaoh. It's a similar name to Pharaoh. It's a similar name to Abimelech from some of the other people around Israel, in that their king was always given kind of the same name. This would be the son of Hadad, which would be one of the patron deities of Aram. But he goes to him and tells him everything, and the king says, "Yes, you're a great warrior. Obviously, wants you to be healthy and good to go. So please take all this." And it is estimated that everything that he mentions here would be over $1 million in worth today. So he's sending quite a bit of goods to Israel, to Samaria specifically, in the hopes that his servant will be able to be healed. He sends this letter with Naaman as well. And whenever the king of Israel gets this, which this time, if we're working on who would be the last king in Israel at this time, it seems like it would be Joram or Jehoram, whichever name you want to go with. I'm pretty sure that would be the last king that we've had mentioned. And if we're working in somewhat chronological order, then we'd have Joram here, or Jehoram. And whenever this letter gets to him, he's thinking, "Why do you think I can do anything about this?" why do you think I'm God that I can kill and I can give life? This guy's expecting so much. He's setting me up to fail, basically. He's going to make it seem like I don't want to do it, or he's trying to show me that I have no power. This is him just trying to pick a fight with me. Yet whenever Elisha hears that the king has tore his clothes, that he's upset about the situation, he says, don't worry, just send him over to me, and he will know there is a prophet in Israel. But not only, I think, will he know there's a prophet in Israel, but hey, King of Israel, you're going to be reminded that there is a prophet in Israel, and that you are responsible to that prophet, and most importantly, you're responsible to the God that prophet serves. You need to be reminded of this, King of Israel, as well. So Naaman and all of his people, his entourage is with him, goes to Elisha's house, and Elisha doesn't come out and speak to him. He actually just sends a servant to go tell him to do something very simple, to go down to the Jordan River and to dip 7 times. And if you do that, you'll be restored, you'll be made clean. And you're thinking, wow, this is super easy, this is simple. And yet Naaman's very upset. He feels disrespected. How dare Elisha not even come out and speak to me face to face? I figured he'd come out and wave his arms and do this and do that, and something just miraculous would happen right here in this place. But he's telling me to go and dip in that nasty water in the Jordan. You've got all these rivers back home in Damascus that are better than this, and this is just silly. So he turns and he leaves in a rage. He leaves in a huff. You just see him being so frustrated by this, because he had hope, and now that hope in his mind is dashed. But his servants, notice the kindness within the story, again, of servants. Begins with the young Israelite girl who tells him about Elisha. Then it goes to these servants who say, listen, Father, Master, don't you think that, if he would tell you to do something crazy, that you'd be willing to do whatever it is? But he's telling you to do something simple, and you're going to reject that? They're saying, Master, you need to be humble. You need to be humble here in this moment. You're the one looking for grace. Accept that grace in whatever form it takes. So Naaman seems to humble himself, which again, he's a person of very high stature. He's a very important person where he comes from. But he does humble himself. He goes to the Jordan. He dips 7 times. And guess what? His skin is restored. His skin became like that of a little boy. He was clean. And at this point, he goes back to Elisha and he makes a declaration of faith. I know that there is no God in the whole world except in Israel. So please let me show my appreciation for the great kindness that you and he have shown me. Please take this gift. Yet Elisha says, no. I don't need the gift. We're fine. Naaman's, I guess he has to deal with that. But he has a further request for Elisha, actually. He says, let me take enough soil that my donkeys can carry in order to take back with me. We might think, oh, that's really weird. Why would he want soil to take back with him? Let me suggest to you this gives us further insight into the ancient Near Eastern understanding of cosmology, the way the creation is, and spiritual beings and all that kind of stuff. They viewed deities, spiritual beings, as being geographically located. That you have the God that's in this land and it has power in this land. Go back a few chapters to the fight between Ben-Hadad and the Israelite king, and they say, well, their gods, the gods of the hills, we need to fight them in the valleys, on the plains. That's where we need to fight them at, on the smooth ground, on the flat ground, because in the hills they have all the power. That's the kind of idea I believe that Naaman has here. I need to take back soil from this place so that in my mind this God can be worshipped outside of his territory. Now, we know that that's not true, that there is, actually what he already said was true. There's no God in the whole earth except Israel. It should be that there is no God in the whole earth except that of Israel. But he's saying in Israel. Again, he's thinking those ancient Near Eastern terms of geographic location. So he needs to take that with him to continue to serve his God, or to continue to serve his newfound God in his hometown, in his homeland, I should say. So that's one thing he wants to do. He wants to continue to worship Yahweh. That's a good thing. And in fact, I will suggest to you that this is a fulfillment of what God originally wanted with the Israelites. He wanted them to behave in such a way so that they would draw the nations to God. So this is a moment of success in that he wants to go on from this place worshiping Yahweh. No, he's not going to be a Jew, but he still wants to worship Yahweh. But there is another issue that he has. He says, listen, the role that I serve, I have to go with my king into the temple of Rimmon, but know that when I have to bow in him, that I'm not actually meaning to. I just have to do it for show. Again, know that there is only one God whom I serve. Can we notice that Elisha doesn't go into explaining to him, okay, listen, Naaman, let's talk about cosmology. Let's talk about all this. No, he just says, go in peace. Elisha understands the desire that Naaman has, the new faith that he has. He says, go in peace. Go take care of all that. You're good to go. Go serve Yahweh. Go live by your faith. It's very interesting. Very interesting seeing this here again. He did not have to become a Jew in order to continue to serve Yahweh. I mean, he was a Gentile. He was a Gentile. Now, remember, I said note the servants and their graciousness. The young Israelite girl, the servants there in verse 13. But notice how that is contrasted with the servant of Elisha, Gehazi. He says in verse number 20, well, my master has let this Aramean Naaman off lightly by not accepting from him what he brought. You know, I'm going to run after him and I'm going to get something from him. He seems, at least the way the author seems to frame it, is that he's thinking that, you know, Elisha deserves something, or maybe more so we deserve something. So he goes and catches up with Naaman. But what does he do? He lies. I don't believe what he says in verse 22 actually happened. I think this is all something that has been fabricated in Gehazi's mind. I don't really have much reason to believe that this thing actually happened. I think the evidence is more so toward he made it up in order to get something for him. But notice again, Naaman's kindness. He's like, yes, you know, don't only take that. Let's double that. Let's send you with so much more. So he sends these things off with Gehazi, with a couple of his servants. And notice that whenever Gehazi gets back, he doesn't take this stuff to Elisha. No. He takes it to the house. Okay, we might be thinking, all right, well, maybe he's going to explain this to Elisha here in a moment. But whenever he goes back to Elisha, Elisha asks him, well, where did you go? And he lies again. Your servant didn't go anywhere. It seems to me, based upon the evidence that's given to us in these few verses 20 through 25, that Gehazi was greedy. He saw everything that Elisha left on the table and thought to himself, oh no, what horrible decision have we made? Look at everything that was offered to us. I cannot believe Elisha didn't take it. We can't let this slip through our fingers. He frames it in thinking, you know, I'm doing this for Elisha, but really it seems like he just wants it for himself. I think he knows that Elisha would not approve of what he has done, which is why Elisha, again, given this knowledge, I think supernaturally by Yahweh told him what was going on. He calls out Gehazi for his greed, and the skin disease that had inflicted Naaman is now inflicted upon Gehazi, but not just him, but his descendants as well. The text says that Gehazi went out from his presence, disease resembling snow. Again, this is a reference to the whiteness or the flakiness that would have been on the skin from a disease such as leprosy. Very, very serious disease. And I'm going to assume, based upon this newfound disease, that Gehazi was no longer able to serve as an attendant to Elisha. He was no longer able to be the attendant of Elisha because of the skin disease. He would have been unclean. And he would have had to go live, I think, in a leper colony. Now, of course, we know the spirituality of Israel at that time is very great. So I don't know if they're necessarily carrying out these cleanliness laws that they're supposed to. But if everything was done as it was supposed to, he just lost an incredible privilege of being a part of Elisha's inner circle. And how sad it is that he allowed greed to ruin the good thing that he had going. So we have here within this text, we have two very much conflicting mentalities. We have one from Naaman. Once he did humble himself, he expressed an enormous amount of gratitude, wanting to bless Elisha for what he had done. Gehazi, on the other hand, showed greed. lied, made up things in order to gain what he thought was something that he deserved, or what Elisha deserved. Whatever the case might be, it did not end up very well for him. Which one will we be? Will we be the type of person who is very much humble to respond to whatever it is that Yahweh might ask of us? Or do we think we deserve more? Do we think that we deserve more than we have and we're going to behave greedily? Surely this text shows us which mentality is better. Certainly the mentality of humility as expressed here by Naaman. I appreciate you tuning in for this reading on this Thursday. Hope you have a great rest of your Thursday. And tomorrow we're going to be reading a couple chapters 6 and 7 here of 2 Kings. The story just kind of runs together, not a great chapter break in between. So we'll go ahead and knock both of these chapters out tomorrow, 2 Kings chapter 6 and 2 Kings chapter 7. Again, have a great rest of your day, everyone. Take care. God bless.